All right, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Doug Sandler. This is the Building Your Life podcast with John Browning. That's that guy over on the other side of the microphone. My name is Doug Sandler. And before we get into it today, John, I want to just promote again your book. If you want to get a free copy of John's book, Build a Life, Not Just a Portfolio, or to connect with John, text LIFE, that's text LIFE, LIFE, to 321-421-5213, or visit John's website at guardianrockwealth.com. All right, let's get into another exciting episode. John, welcome back to the podcast.
It's always good to be here. Always good to talk with you. And we have some really good conversations together. So I appreciate that.
I thank you, and I appreciate you giving me just another week of employment. Thank you, John, very much. Speaking of employment, wow, back in 2020, the government helped us with this PPP, the Personal Paycheck Protection Program, or the Paycheck Protection Program. Now we got a whole new spin on this. It's the Personal Paycheck Protection Program designed for you, by you, or designed by you for you. So maybe can you share a little bit about how this thing works? Because I loved it as I was reading some of the notes for what we were going to talk about today. I love how you've kind of done a spin on the government program. So talk to us about it.
Well, ultimately, I think that's what we all want to do, right? Because if you've ever looked at the Social Security Administration site, and you can go to, what is it, ssa.gov, and you can figure out what your Social Security check is going to be.
I got my 40 credits. I know I got them.
I know. I've got my 40 credits. I saw what I'm going to likely get.
Yeah.
At different ages and all that. So that's always interesting to know. And it does not cover my rent.
No, it's not good. Not good.
Not only does it not cover my rent, it definitely doesn't cover, anything above my rent. So I guess I'm not going to eat. I don't know what I'm going to do if I'm counting on Social Security. So I'm not someone who thinks Social Security is going away. And there's one very important reason that I believe that Social Security will likely always be there. And that is because the number one constituent voter for Republicans and Democrats are the ones that are taking Social Security.
All right, so that's good. So I feel a little bit safer now as I'm in my late 50s, approaching it. I'm starting to look at my SSA.gov website and know now that how many credits I have, how much money I might have coming in the door. But I'm trying my best not to even think that is even money that's even going to be coming in the door. So if you don't think it's coming in, although we know what some of it's going to come in, what's the next thing? How do we trick ourselves into getting to retirement with ease and grace and with the least amount of angst possible?
Yeah, and it's one thing I want to mention too is because we did, most of us listening to the podcast when we went through 2020, right? I mean, all of us, right? And we saw people that were gainfully employed. They were providing great value, but they could not work. There was no work for them. And the government did the Personal Paycheck Protection Program, or they did the Paycheck Protection Program. I'm talking about, what are you going to do if you get laid off next week? What are you going to do if retirement comes upon you faster than you thought it was? My dad, when he retired, he wasn't planning on retiring, but they offered him something that, kind of like The Godfather, something you couldn't refuse, right?
You couldn't refuse.
It's like, either take this really horrible position, or we'll give you a lot of money to just retire right now. Well, that was a bit of a shock. But back then, when my dad was retiring, there was this thing called a pension fund, which some people still have. And if you have one of those, hold on to it.
Yep.
But most of us in my age category, in the 50 somethings, we'll call it, don't have a pension. So what is it that we are supposed to do? Well, John, I've got a 401k. Well, if you get laid off and you're not of age yet, that 401k is going to cost you quite a bit if you're going to dip into that. It's going to cost you an extra 10% on top of what your tax rate is. So you want to try and avoid that. It's I have counseled some people to do that. And in some cases, it's the right thing to do. But if you've planned well, once you get into your 40s and 50s, you should be able to have a personal paycheck protection plan. And that's not your emergency fund. that is your personal paycheck protection plan. That is not in one of those protected retirement buckets. It's in a fund that you keep for yourself that can keep you alive and keep you running at roughly your current lifestyle and keep your cash flow going so that and you're not paying a lot of extra taxes on it.
So how do you fund it? Like what's the way that you can fund it, and how do you know how much money is it just based upon your current budgetary needs, or how do you determine how much money you're going to be taking out of that? How do you calculate all of those things?
Yeah, so the best way to do it is kind of some of the things that we've talked about recently on the show, and that is pay yourself first,
Mm-hmm.
do an automatic investment plan every month that doesn't go into, we talk a lot about you gotta, max out your retirement plans, but that might not be the best thing for you in your situation. You might want to contribute more or at least some to a taxable account that there's no penalty for withdrawing if you lose your job for a while or for a long while.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm talking about. Whether it's $20 a month or 500 or $1,000 a month, depending on where you are, pay yourself first into that taxable account and do it on a religious, consistent basis so that you forget it's even there.
Yeah.
You forget it's just like your car payment, it's like your mortgage payment. It just goes and it's like an automatic. I set all my payments up on auto because I'll forget to write. You remember you used to write the checks?
I haven't written a check and I haven't put a stamp on an envelope to mail a bill in forever.
Yeah, every once in a while I'll do one, but pretty much it's just all goes. I've set it up automatically. Well, you do the same thing when you're designing your personal paycheck protection program.
Mm-hmm.
The second part of the question that you asked was, how do you know how much is enough and how much you should, direct towards your retirement plan? And that's different for everyone, but there's a software that we use, which we called an asset map. We create the asset map, but involved with that too is your cash flows. And it will give you a lot of different scenarios. Like if you invest aggressively and the market performs this way, and none of this is stuff that we know, but you have to make some assumptions, and you find some place where you're comfortable that you can plan on over time, getting to the point where, hey, if I lose my job tomorrow, I mean, wouldn't that be nice, right? To know that if I got laid off tomorrow, okay, and do I want to look right away for a job? Maybe not. Maybe I want to golf a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I want to find out what retirement's going to be like, and maybe I'll just stay in. You'd have that option. It'd be kind of nice. Wouldn't it feel good?
I totally would feel good. I would start to worry at some point, am I going to get used to this and not want to go back to work? I love the idea. I mean, and there's also other vehicles. I mean, other than just putting money into a fund or investment or straight into a savings account or cash into a mattress somewhere. I mean, there's tools like there's annuities and there's whole value, cash value life insurance policies that are out there. And like, how do you even start making some decisions about that kind of stuff?
And that's the thing. I think there's been so much bad press, right, on things like annuities and life insurance products, and it gets confusing because there's a lot of different life insurance products out
Mm-hmm.
there. And the first question to ask anyone who is selling you an annuity or a life insurance product, like I get paid the same no matter what, which puts me in a position that I don't have any conflicts of interest, which I really like. I can tell you to invest in a 529 plan for your kid's college. I can tell you to invest in an annuity. I'm not getting paid any more or any less
Mm-hmm.
for that. And my clients really like that as well. And there's no really one good, one ethical way for your financial advisor to get by. I don't play that game. If one advisor wants to charge based one way or another way, that's not. But for me, if you do better, I do better. If you do worse, then I take a pay cut. And that just seems fair to me. And I don't have any incentive to tell you to go into an annuity versus invest in the stock market or in bonds or stocks. I have no incentive for that. And that's what you want to ask your financial advisors. How do you get paid? And if you get any kind of skirting around that issue, run the other direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go find somebody else. Most annuities and life insurance products in the past have been sold on a big upfront commission. And then maybe a little trail payment is ongoing, but not enough to really even care that much about. You can have access to annuities, which are, there's a lot of different flavors of annuities, but they'll pay you a certain amount every month sometime into the future. And it's not necessarily tied to the stock market or the bond market. It's guaranteed by, and careful when I say guaranteed, and this is not investment advice, right, on this show, but it's guaranteed by an insurance company. Now, if that insurance company goes out of business, then you're in trouble, right? So there's still risk. It's not riskless. Now, we saw that the government came in and bailed out those insurance companies in the past, but it doesn't guarantee that they will in the future. But if you're paying your financial advisor, your insurance agent, a huge upfront commission, they don't have any incentive really to continue to service you going forward. But you can still have that annuity and the features of that annuity, that kind of steady, safer, quote unquote, safer cash flow without paying that upfront commission. And maybe you pay on an ongoing basis on an assets under management or something like that. Same thing with life insurance. That is also available, paying your advisor, insurance agent that way as well. So while they got a bad name, there are still really good reasons for your personal paycheck protection program to put these in place. Just as a quick, for example, there's a life insurance product that you can purchase that not only gives you, if you pass away, protects your family. So you've got that. It also provides a way for, if you needed to, you could borrow against the cash value of that. It's not something I suggest to do for go out and necessarily buy a new house or a new car or something like that. But again, it could be that personal paycheck protection program if you lose your job as well. But you got to plan for that. You got to actually do that. And you have to pay into it for a while before there's any meaningful amount of money there for you to take that loan.
Is there a rule of thumb that you would suggest that people should have X amount of dollars in monthly reserve before, as that cushion? We talked earlier about, getting into the idea of starting this semi-retirement, not voluntarily, but starting it and then having to go back to work. But is there at some point, do you decide, hey, I need to have 2 months of this, I need to have 6 months of this, I need to have 2 years of this in the bank in order for it to, quote unquote, work?
I tell people, as a general rule of thumb, different for everybody, but as a general rule of thumb, 3 months of cash, so not necessarily cash in a savings account at the bank that's not paying you anything, but like in a money market fund, where right now you're getting like 5% or something like that. But in some sort of cash position, 3 months of what your living expenses are. So that's not what your paycheck is, but what your living expenses are. And then above that, you start doing your paycheck protection program. That 3 months is your emergency fund.
Right.
That can be used if your car breaks down, and then you replenish it, as needed. But you've got that 3 months, and that's immediate. Your personal paycheck protection program, I like to have, and this is in investments. This could be in, 3 to 5 year type of investment horizon. I like to have like a year's worth of taxable money available to you. And again, that can be a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on your personal situation. But those are just general rules of thumb.
No, it's great. It gives everybody an idea of, okay, where am I right now? And how do I get there if I'm not there right now? And it would make the most sense to me if you don't know how you're going to get there right now. You need a little accountability. That's where John and his team at Guardian Rock Wealth will be able to help you. So, John, why don't you tell people how they can reach out to you and get you before we wrap up today's episode?
Sure. You can text the word life, LIFE, to 321-421-5213. You'll get a link with all of my information. And if you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. You can just go look at all the cool information that
Who
we
wouldn't
have
want to
out
talk to you, John?
I don't know. But yeah, it's my wife, right? Uh, but you can also go out to guardianrockwealth.com. There's a contact us section there. You can ask us a question, and certainly feel free to just call the number on the website as well. It'll probably be me that picks up the phone. I haven't got a robot doing that yet.
Not yet. We're working on it, John. I'm trying to find a robot that's as smart as you. I can't seem to find that happening yet, though, but I will.
Yeah. So like either I will pick up the phone, my assistant will pick up the phone, or if you do need to leave a message, please leave one, because we'll get back to you within 24 hours and probably a lot less than that.
All right. Another great episode, Building Your Life podcast. That guy over there, he is John Browning. My name is Doug Sandler. Thanks for tuning in yet another week, John. Thanks for sharing, and enjoy sunny weather in your neck of the woods this week, isn't it?
Yes, it is beautiful here. A
Right.
little warm. It's in the high 80s, but that's okay. We'll take it.
Or you can always come to California, right? Ventura, 20 miles away from me. Beautiful, 72 and sunny. It's 365 days of the year.
Yeah, there you go. I remember when we were living in Hawaii, it was like, oh no, it's a heat wave. It's 80 degrees today.
Thanks, John, for sharing. Thanks for your wisdom, and thanks for your smart words on today's topic. Talk to you soon.
All right.